Centuries ago, gold was taken from Africa. Today, that same gold has become a source of freedom for the continent. October 1st, 2025 is remembered as a turning point in global financial history. In Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, Governor Salem Tesfaye of the African Central Bank was sitting alone late at night reviewing reports and global market trends. The phone rang. The screen read, U.S. Treasury, Washington, D.C. A calm and firm voice said, "From today onwards, all remittances sent from the United States to Africa will have a limit of $500 per month. Any amount above that will face a 60% tax." The news shocked Governor Tesfaye. Within hours, it spread across African banks and financial institutions. Dollar values in local African currencies spiked. Millions of families who relied on money from relatives abroad were left uncertain and afraid. Markets panicked. Traders could not predict the next move. This was not just a financial decision. It targeted the survival of entire communities. If you think this is only an African issue, hit like because what happened next would change the world forever. On October 2nd, the true reason behind the U.S. move became clear. 3 West African countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, had joined to form the Sahel Alliance. They announced they had nationalized the largest gold mines operated by Western corporations. Their declaration was simple: our resources are now for our people, our children, and our future. The news caused panic in Washington. A leaked U.S. memo stated, "We are not afraid of losing gold. We are afraid of losing control." The United States attempted to impose sanctions at the United Nations. China and Russia vetoed the resolution. Military intervention was impossible. Instead, the United States opted for a quiet war targeting financial flows, especially remittances. This decision immediately impacted millions of families. The cost of sending money skyrocketed. Informal channels began to emerge. Communities feared hunger, financial collapse, and economic uncertainty. Local economies slowed. Shops reduced stock. Farmers could not pay workers. Children went without school supplies. If you think this story should reach everyone, share this video with friends, family, and colleagues across the globe. On October 3rd in Ouagadougou, thousands gathered outside the Parliament building. People waved banners and shouted, "Our money, our dignity." President Ibrahim Traoré addressed the crowd. He said, "When they block our money, they block our mother's food. They block our children's future. Whenever Africa rises, they try to stop us not with weapons but with chains of money. But we will not stop." The applause echoed across the city. That night, Traoré and his team met in a secure underground command center. They began planning a revolutionary digital financial system called SahelNet. SahelNet was designed to give Africans control over their money and resources. It would bypass traditional banking networks, provide encrypted direct transfers, and create a new independent currency. SahelNet had 3 main components. The National Diaspora Bank, NDB, allowed direct encrypted transfers bypassing SWIFT and global banking systems. SAXS was a digital gold-backed currency using advanced Chinese blockchain technology, Russian cybersecurity, and African ownership. The free trade corridor allowed trade in yuan and ruble, completely reducing dependence on the US dollar. On October 4th, the first SahelNet transaction went live from Ouagadougou to Istanbul. The transfer completed in just 5 seconds. People across Africa celebrated in homes and public squares. This proved technology could give financial freedom to an entire continent. The US government was alarmed. Analysts in Washington were shocked. Reports circulated stating Africa was no longer dependent on US-controlled financial networks. European experts described it as the 21st century financial revolution. Other nations in the Global South began studying the SahelNet model for their own economic independence. By October 5th, more than 40% of remittances in West Africa were being processed through SahelNet. The platform proved secure, fast, and nearly free. It eliminated the need for traditional banks. The system encouraged transparency and reduced corruption by providing traceable digital transactions. IMF and global financial experts admitted they had misjudged President Traoré. He was not a populist. He was a strategic visionary. The world realized Africa had demonstrated that technological innovation could overcome centuries of financial dependency. On October 6th, local governments began integrating SahelNet into their tax and social welfare systems. Citizens could pay fees, school tuition, and government fines digitally. Farmers could sell crops internationally without currency conversion issues. Microloans were issued digitally. Women-led businesses thrived using the new platform. By October 7th, the Sahel Alliance began hosting webinars and training sessions for citizens. Schools taught students how to use digital wallets. Rural villages gained access to secure banking. Elderly citizens learned to transfer funds safely. Every transaction built trust and independence. By mid-October, major cities were connected through SahelNet. Banking infrastructure in small towns improved. Financial literacy programs expanded. Africa was no longer just a passive recipient of foreign aid. It had become a leader in innovation. The success of SahelNet sent shockwaves globally. Western banks saw reduced volumes. International investors began exploring African fintech markets. Governments in Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East started similar projects. Africa had created a blueprint for economic independence. By November 2025, the Sahel Alliance extended SahelNet to 12 more African countries. Agricultural trade, export payments, and cross-border investments were processed through SACCESS and the Free Trade Corridor. Local economies stabilized. Dollar dependence decreased. Citizens had full financial control. The digital system increased transparency. Government payments, pensions, and social programs became traceable. Fraud and corruption in remittance flows dropped dramatically. Trust in institutions increased. Communities felt empowered. By December 2025, SahelNet became a symbol of African digital independence. International delegations visited to study the system. Economists and policymakers explored creating similar digital gold-backed currencies. Africa was no longer a recipient. It became a model for global innovation. The success of SahelNet showed that technology could change power dynamics. Financial sovereignty was no longer theoretical. It was operational and scalable. Digital currencies backed by natural resources could challenge centuries of global financial control. Remember, gold is not only mined from the ground, it is mined from self-respect, courage, and determination. Anyone who recognizes their self-respect cannot be stopped. Unity, creativity, and courage are the foundations of true freedom. Subscribe and share this story. It is not just Africa's story. It is the beginning of a new world where technology and self-determination define freedom.